Alright, what's up? It's Uji here. It's your Week 14 college football review. The final weekend before the bowl games. This is all the conference championship games, plus there were a few makeup games from the Wildfire and the Hurricanes earlier in the season. So there were a couple Friday games. Let's jump into it. The first one, the Pac-12 championship between the Utah Utes and the Washington Huskies. Two really good defenses. And that's pretty much all that happened. Washington won 10-3, and the only way they scored the touchdown was an interception return for a touchdown off one of the craziest plays. It bounced off the receiver's hand, then his leg, then into the cornerback's hand, who returned it for the touchdown. They held Utah to 51 rushing yards, 137 passing yards. Utah quarterback Jason Shelley had 3 interceptions. Jake Browning, the quarterback for Washington, he had one interception. There was not much of any kind of offense going in this game. It was just, a bunch of turnovers and a bunch of stuff. But at the same time, Washington did come out with this as the Pac-12 champions, and I think should be going to the Rose Bowl. So, congrats on the Huskies, on UW to get that title. All right, then the other game of Friday night, the MAC championship, the Mid-American Conference championship game between Northern Illinois and Buffalo. Now this is what a conference championship game looks like. Buffalo comes in 10-2, the best season they've ever had. Great offense, one of the best receivers in the nation, one of the biggest quarterbacks in the nation, and Tyree Jackson, 6'7", 240, whatever quarterback. Buffalo takes a 29-10 lead, which you're like, hey Richie, how is that conference championship game? Well, it just so happens, my friends, Buffalo was up 29-10 towards the end of the third quarter. Northern Illinois, all they did was come back and win 30-29. In a conference title game, they were down. Marcus Childers, the quarterback for Northern Illinois, 21-33, 300 yards passing, 4 passing touchdowns, bring him all the way back. Buffalo, they still did some stuff. Tyree Jackson threw for 252 and 2 touchdowns. Anthony Johnson, one of the best receivers in the country. He 7 catches, 124, 2 touchdowns. Both teams played awesome. That's the kind of game a conference championship should be. Not the stupid Pac-12 title game, 10-3. Give me a break. This is what a championship is. Congrats to Northern Illinois. It's kind of a interesting matchup because Buffalo kind of came out of nowhere this year to get into this game. Some people saw they might make a bowl or something, but nobody saw they'd win 10 and make this. Northern Illinois, kind of a down year, quote unquote, for them in terms of their record, because in the past they used, the past 7 years or whatever, they kind of ran rampant through the MAC, just winning a bunch of MAC championship games and whatever, going to big time bowl games, and yet, the Blue Bloods, the traditional, the old school, they just were like, all right, Buffalo, it's nice year, nice year. Let's just go show you what we're made of, and they won. So congrats to Northern Illinois Huskies on a MAC championship. All right, this is kind of out of order. I'll start with the Alabama and the SEC championship game. Alabama between Georgia ended up being a really great game. Alabama went up early. Georgia came back, and Georgia actually led 28-14 at one time. Tua Tagovailoa, the quarterback for Alabama, got hurt, had the worst game he's had all season by far. He was only 10-25, 164 yards, 1 touchdown, threw 2 interceptions. He'd only thrown 2 all year going into the game. He gets hurt. They're down. Jalen Hurts comes in, who was 26-2 at Alabama as the starter before being replaced in last year's national championship game against Georgia, which I'll go back to that in a second. Jalen Hurts comes in, 7 or 9, 82 yards, 1 touchdown passing, runs for the winning touchdown, and Alabama squeaks it out 35-28. Let's start with Jake Fromm, the quarterback for Georgia, 25-39, 301, 3 touchdowns, awesome game. Like I said, Alabama ran for 157 as a team. Jalen Waddle had 4 catches for 113 and a touchdown. In receiving for Alabama. And who would have, what weird symmetry, right? Last year in the national championship game, Jalen Hurts had started the first half. They were now 13-0 to Georgia. They put in a then freshman quarterback, Tua Tagovailoa, who hadn't really played all year. Saban decides, hey, we'll go with you in the second half, young freshman guy, over our 2-year starter who only lost 2 games as a starter. We'll start with you, and Tua brings them all the way back against Georgia and beats Georgia for a national championship. Then in this, for the SEC championship, Tua is the one that's down, gets hurt. Jalen comes back in and leads them back against Georgia. So it's just weird symmetry, interesting symmetry. And Alabama, escapes, but by far, when I say by far their closest game of the year, I mean Alabama came into the game 12-0. Literally every single game, all 12 games, they won by at least 20 points or more. And this one when they won by 7. So it was the closest game so far they've had this season. But congrats to Alabama for winning the SEC championship. Clemson taking on Pittsburgh. This wasn't really a game. First play of the game, Clemson, Travis Etienne ran 75 yards for a touchdown en route to 156 yards rushing and 2 touchdowns. They ran for 301 as a team as they dominated Pittsburgh 42-10. They start off 14-0. Pittsburgh did come back a little, make it 14-10. Then it was just all Clemson. Trevor Lawrence, 12-24, 118, 2 touchdowns. He didn't really have to do a lot because they ran for so many yards. They held Kenny Pickett, the quarterback, to 4 of 16 passing for 8 yards in an interception. Pittsburgh did run for 192 yards in them, so Clemson, when they make the playoffs, some teams can run on them, apparently. I will say, at least for Pitt, Quadri Allison and Darren Hall, each went over 1,000 yards rushing for the season. They're the first duo in Pitt history to do that, which is saying a lot because Pitt's kind of known for having a whole lot of good running backs. And congrats to Clemson for winning their 4th straight ACC championship. Alright, the Big 12 championship game, Texas and Oklahoma. This was a really good game, close back and forth. Texas went up 14-6. Oklahoma behind Heisman winner, I'm calling it here, right before, because next week is the Heisman stuff. Kyler Murray brought him back to win 39-27. Kyler Murray went off 25-34 passing, 379, 3 touchdowns, added 39 more rushing yards. CeeDee Lamb, wide receiver for Oklahoma, 6 catches, 167 yards, and a touchdown reception. But Texas had a really good game. All their guys had a bunch of stuff. Sam Ehlinger, 23 of 36, 349, 2 touchdowns passing, also 2 touchdowns rushing. Wide receiver Colin Johnson, he had 8 catches for 177 and a touchdown. The 177 is actually a Big 12 title game record for receiving yards. So it was a nice back and forth affair, and Oklahoma has now won the Big 12, so congrats to them, and they're probably going to sneak into the playoffs as Oklahoma wins. Alright, the Memphis Tigers and the UCF Knights. This was like a mirror image of what happened early in the season when Memphis played UCF. Except at that time, UCF had Mackenzie Milton, who was a Heisman candidate last year, a Heisman candidate this year, had a really terrible leg injury last week, probably career-ending injury. UCF comes into this game with a redshirt freshman quarterback he started a game early in the year against a not-so-good team. He hadn't played a whole lot. This I don't even know where to start with this game. First quarter for UCF fans was... First, let me go back. Earlier this season, at week 4 or 5, Memphis played UCF, right? Memphis was up 30-14, and at halftime they were up 30-17. And UCF came all the way back to eke out a win, 31-30. The defense was terrible in the first half. Darrell Henderson, who's one of the best, if not the best, running back in the country, beside maybe Jonathan Taylor at Wisconsin. In that game earlier in the season, he ran for like 150 yards or whatever in the first half, and only had like 40 yards rushing in the second half. This game, the first quarter, Memphis went up 24-7 after one quarter. Darrell Henderson, after the first half, ran for 203 rushing yards in one half. They ran for 336 yards. Memphis did in one half, which is the most any team had given up. UCF giving up those 336 was the most any team had given up in terms of rushing yards in any game this season. Anyone. And then Josh Heupel showed he is amazing at making halftime adjustments. After halftime, UCF held Memphis to only. And by the way, at halftime, Memphis was winning 38-21. After halftime, UCF's defense tightened up, and I mean they only gave up 3 points, and they only gave up 75 total rushing yards to Memphis all second half. Put it this way. The first half, Darrell Henderson had, I think, 203 rushing yards. He had 7 in the second half, period. Rushing yards. UCF, they also turned it over a lot in the first half. Mack had 3 fumbles himself. One, luckily, was recovered, actually 4 touchdowns by UCF. And they muffed a punt that led to Memphis scoring a touchdown before half. UCF cleaned all that up in the second half and came from behind again against Memphis. Again, UCF won 56-41. Their defense played amazing. Their offense stopped turning over and just scored a lot of points as they finished another regular undefeated season 12-0. They won 25. They went undefeated last year. They're 1 win away from finishing another undefeated season, 25 straight in a row. They've set an NCAA record, scoring 30 or more points in now 25 straight games. They forced 30 turnovers, or at least one turnover in 30 straight games. And Josh Heupel showed what a hell of a coach he is. Now let's jump into all these gaudy stats. Let's start with Memphis, all the stuff they ended up with. Darrell Henderson, 16 carries, 210, 3 touchdowns. Patrick Taylor, 15 carries, 118, 1 touchdown. Their passing game didn't do a whole lot. They didn't need to. Honestly, I'm not even sure why they passed. They were gashing UCF. But they decided, hey, we want our quarterback to play, and he threw an interception. So all UCF did was, Darrell Mack, 19 of 27, 348 passing yards, 2 passing touchdowns, added 59 rushing yards, and 4 more rushing touchdowns. He had 6 touchdowns. In fact, the 348 that Mack passed in this game was more than any game this season that Milton passed for. That didn't make any sense. This game, he passed for more yards in this game than any single game Milton had this season. Right? Milton did not pass for 348 yards in any single game so far this season. Mack did it. Greg McCray, running back, he ran for 206 yards himself and a touchdown. They ran for 350 yards as a team. Oh, and they had 2 guys go over 100 yards receiving. Jurgic Nelson, 4 catches, 120. Gabriel Davis, 6 catches, 101 yards. Phenomenal job by the coaching staff all season. First-year head coach Josh Heupel. Never been a head coach before. Undefeated. One of the best offenses in the country. Back to a New Year's Six Bowl. Should be in the playoff, but whatever. UCF, phenomenal season again. Beating Memphis again for the American Athletic Conference Championship. Again. Nice going, UCF. Alright, the Mountain West Championship game between Fresno State and Boise State. And this was about what I thought. Both teams, top 20 or 30 offenses, top 20 or 30 defenses. They always play really, really close. Fresno State went up 13-7. Boise State's kicking game is what cost them this game. And I'm giving it away. Fresno State actually won in overtime, 19-16. Earlier in the game, Boise State didn't go for a field goal because they didn't think they'd make it. And they went for 4th down and didn't make it. They did try a field goal and missed it. And then late in the game when they scored a touchdown to tie 13-13, the extra point got blocked, which may have ended up winning them the game. Who knows what plays would have been called after that. Boise State gets it first in overtime. They actually are able to make the field goal, but Fresno State ended up scoring a touchdown to win 19-16. This is a really hard-fought battle. Brett Ripien, the quarterback for Boise State, he passed for 125, a touchdown, didn't throw picks. Marcus McMahon threw for 170 and a touchdown. Boise State running back Alexander Madison did everything he possibly could to win. He had 40 carries for 200 yards, his second straight 200-yard game, and a touchdown. But Fresno State, this was their first win ever on the blue turf at Boise State. So congrats to Fresno State. They're 11-2 and they're Mountain West Conference champions. All right, the Big Ten title game between Northwestern and Ohio State. Heisman candidate Dwayne Haskins had a great game. This was actually close for a while. Ohio State did build a 24-7 lead. Then Northwestern, behind Clayton Thorson, one of the better quarterbacks in Northwestern history and sort of Big Ten history, ended up bringing them back. They were only down 24-21 at one time. Then it was 30. Then they were only down 31-24. But Ohio State just poured it on and ended up pulling away late, winning 45-24. Dwayne Haskins had, he was 34-41, 499 passing yards, 5 touchdown passes. Johnny Dixon, 7 catches, 129 and a touchdown. J.K. Dobbins, running back for Ohio State, he ran for 1,000 yards this year. He's actually the first Ohio State running back to run for 1,000 yards in both his freshman and sophomore seasons. Clayton Thorson for Northwestern threw for 265, a touchdown, and ran for a touchdown as well to keep them in the game. And he actually started his 52nd game in his career, which sets a Big Ten record. Northwestern came in out of nowhere, made the Big Ten title game. They had a really, really good year. Ohio State, Dwayne Haskins set all kinds of Big Ten records this year. Now he's got 46 passing touchdowns on the year, and at the bowl might hit 50, which is crazy. They have a small chance. I'm recording this before the playoffs are picked. They have a small chance of getting in, but I kind of doubt they'll get in over Oklahoma. But congrats to Ohio State for winning a Big Ten championship game. All right, so now going on to there's still a couple of some conference championship games. The CUSA Championship, UAB against Middle Tennessee State. This is a back and forth game, which is what a conference championship game should be. UAB had a great story in 2014. Their football program was shut down. In fact, which means they did not play football in 2015 or 2016 at all. Their players all left. Most of them, they went on to play elsewhere. They came back actually last season, 2017, and had a great year. They actually won 8 games and made a bowl, which is... UAB had only made one bowl game in their history prior to that, and much less they were coming off not even playing. And now this year, they win 10 games, make it to the CUSA Championship, came back to beat Middle Tennessee. Came back. They were down, they were up. It was really back and forth. But UAB ended up winning a really close game, a really exciting game, 27-25. They were down, UAB, Middle Tennessee State, behind Brent Stockstill, one of the top 25 passers in college football history, at least statistically speaking. In fact, in this game, he passed for 362 and 2 touchdowns, but he did throw 2 picks. He led them to a 13-3 lead. UAB came all the way back to go up 21-13. Then at one point it's 24-16. Then Middle Tennessee actually came back to go at 25-24. And then UAB ended up winning 27-25 behind a freshman quarterback. Their senior quarterback had gotten hurt. Put Tyler Johnson III. He was only 9-15 for 140, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. But they ran for 225 as a team. Spencer Brown, one of the best running backs in the group of 5, in my opinion. He had 31 carries for 156 yards himself and a touchdown. And UAB had Bill Clark is doing an amazing job there coaching and led them to a CUSA championship. So congrats to UAB. Then there was the first ever Sun Belt Conference Championship game between Appalachian State and Louisiana Raging Cajuns. And this is a really, really good game as well. Appalachian State, they're known as Giant Killers, beat Michigan, one of the better offenses and defenses in the country, statistically speaking, like top 20 in each or about so. Appalachian State, they took a pretty, decent lead. They're up, it said 14-6. They're up 17-6 at one time. Then Louisiana kind of battled back and made it 17-16. Then they were down 24-16. Then it's 23-16, whatever. They're basically in it all game. They kept every time Appalachian State would start to pull away, Louisiana would take it. Then finally Appalachian State did end up winning 30-19. Quarterback Zach Thomas didn't do a whole lot passing, but they ran for 225 as a team. Zach Thomas had 59 rushing yards and 2 rushing touchdowns. Darrington Evans ran for 111 yards for them. Louisiana didn't do a whole lot of passing either, but they ran. Trey Ragas ran for 101. They ran for 216 as a team. Louisiana had a really, really nice year. Came out of nowhere to make the Sun Belt title game. They're going to go to a bowl anyway. And Appalachian State, though, 10-win season, Sun Belt champion. Congrats to them. All right, now jumping into the games of the day that were the makeup games, basically. So we're going to start with Drake and Iowa State. This is a really, really ugly game. Iowa State didn't seem to really want to play with it. Drake took the lead. Iowa State, they kind of went back and forth, but Iowa State did end up prevailing 27-24. Running back David Montgomery, one of the better running backs maybe in the country. He ran for 145 yards and 2 touchdowns. Luckily, he was awake today. Quarterback Brock Purdy, he was solid passing, 15 of 22, 153, a touchdown passing and 1 rushing. But in Iowa State was at least able to get out with the win, win 8 games. Maybe they can win 9 in their bowl game. All right, East Carolina took it on NC State, and this was all NC State, 58-3. In fact, they put the center in, and he ran for a touchdown for NC State. Ryan Finley, quarterback, 32 of 44, 409 passing yards, 3 touchdowns. Reggie Gillespie, 24 carries for 220 yards, 2 touchdowns. He actually set a school record with 19 total touchdowns. Wide receiver Jacoby Myers went off with 13 catches for 163 yards and a touchdown. He set a school record in receptions this year. And even the kicker Chris Dunn set a single-season school record for most field goals made. They just demolished East Carolina. They held East Carolina to 104 total yards. They had 3 quarterbacks combined, 9 for 25. They only ran for 31 yards. In NC State, they had a fun game, fun day, getting 9 wins, maybe win 10, and can finish a nice season off. South Carolina taking on Akron. I'll say this. Jake Bentley had an okay game, 14 of 27, 199, 3 touchdowns, but he threw 2 picks. Brian Edwards had 5 catches, 109, and a touchdown. Mon Denson actually ran for 110 yards. They ran for 185 as a team. South Carolina did, en route to a 28-3 win. This is really kind of the Deebo Samuel show. He's a senior. He's had a productive career when he's been able to play. He's gotten hurt a lot, but honestly, he's going to play on Sundays, and you watch out, because when he was in, he's one of the best receivers in the country, period. Bar none. Put it this way. In the game today, he had 4 catches, 33 yards. 2 of them went for touchdown, and he's also on the punt block team, and he didn't block the punt, but Akron had a bad snap go over the head into the end zone, and he recovered it for a touchdown. So let me just break this down to you. In his career, he's got 30 touchdowns, 16 touchdown receptions, 7 rushing touchdowns, 4 kick returns for touchdowns. He's thrown 2 passes for touchdowns, and now 1 fumble recovery for a touchdown. He just knows how to score touchdowns, and I know damn well the NFL is keeping track of this. All right, Marshall taking on Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech, a very subpar year, especially. They had a lot of goals, high goals, maybe making an ACC title game. They came into this is a makeup game. They came in against a strong Marshall team who was 8-3 or 8-4. Yeah, they were 8-3. My bad. Virginia Tech was 5-6 in jeopardy of ending what became the longest active bowl streak in the nation. FSU had 36, but theirs was snapped last week, so Virginia Tech now has the longest active streak. They were at 26 or 25, and now have made it 26 straight with a really nice win over Marshall, 41-20. Ryan Willis, the quarterback who stepped in for Josh Jackson earlier in the year when Josh Jackson went down. Willis has actually had a really good year. He's got 22 passing touchdowns. He had 312 passing, 4 touchdown passes, no picks in this game. The defense for Virginia Tech, the first play for Marshall, they caused a fumble and were able to cash it in. But even still, Marshall Isaiah Green, 19 of 34, 220, touchdown and pick. Brandon Knox went off on him, 204 rushing yards, 2 touchdowns. Virginia Tech's defense, they still have something to clean up, but their offense was good enough. Their defense was just good enough. They're going to go to a bowl. They're bowl eligible. So, congrats to Virginia Tech. And Marshall, they still had the 8 wins. They're going to be going bowling as well. All right, so you got Norfolk State taking on Liberty. Liberty's a transition team. This is their first year in the FBS. They can't become bowl eligible because of restrictions. Whenever a team transitions to the FBS, they can't become bowl eligible that season unless there are not enough teams that are bowl eligible and that team becomes it. And actually today they beat Norfolk State 52-17. They finished 6-6 on this season. So it's for a transition team, that's a really good season. Stephen Calvert passed for 158 and a touchdown. They had 2 guys go over 100 rushing yards. Kentori Matthews ran for 151 and 4 rushing touchdowns. Frankie Hickson went for 100 yards rushing himself and a touchdown. And the 100 yards put Frankie Hickson over 1,000 rushing yards this year. Antonio Gandy Golden had 71 receiving yards. He puts him over 1,000 yards receiving for this year, second year in a row. He's done that. So they had a really, really nice end to their season. Probably looks like because Calvert and Golden, they're juniors. They'll probably be back next year for a really, high octane passing offense that can put up some points and yards against really anybody. And maybe they set themselves up for next year. Then finally, you had the big game, Stanford and Cal. This rivalry is 2 weeks late. Is a makeup game for all the wildfires in California. It was kind of a back and forth slugfest, but it was ended up in the Stanford's favor, 23-13. KJ Costello passed for 237 and a touchdown. They were held in 92 rushing yards. Cal's defense is quite good. JJ Arcega-Whiteside had 5 catches for 109. Patrick Laird for Cal did run for 116 yards, but the quarterback for Cal, Chase Garbers, did throw 2 interceptions. One of them, Paul Adebo I think is his name, for Stanford. Yeah, Paulson Adebo. The interception he has made maybe the best catch of the year. It's definitely the best interception of the year. It might just be the best catch, period, of the year. Just physical, not even one-handed, but stretching out, getting it right before it hit the ground, and then controlling it as he does a somersault roll or whatever. You guys gotta see it. Maybe we'll put a highlight in the description. But Stanford ends up winning. However, both are still gonna go to a nice bowl game. So there you guys have it. I'm not gonna do a stat attack this time because usually I do the if teams get 1,000 or whatever. I'm gonna be doing bowl previews. I don't know who's all going to a bowl game yet. So I'll do the stat attack as soon as I know who they are and when I do my bowl previews for them. And for each game, I'll say, I'll shout out the players that are close to 1,000 yards receiving or rushing or whatever with that. So my bowl predictions and previews probably come out in a week from now, over a week from now. I'm going to break it up, there's 39 or 40 bowl games. I'm not going to do them all at once. I'm going to break them up week by week as well. This has been awesome. Watch out for my bowl predictions. I'll do one more at the end of the season reviewing the bowl games, and then we'll gear up for next year. Peace.